It warms my heart to see you again. And remember, abandon all hope, all ye who enter the haunted house on Hollow Hill. Episode 4.
Does Kate know?
Most of it. Some of it. I'm not asking you to beat him up or anything, but do you think you could maybe intimidate Gideon into...
We'll get him to talk.
Thank you. And I'm sorry for lying.
Lucy, I get it. It's cool. Come on. It's gonna be okay.
Clive's dead. What?
I'm sorry?
He's dead. Stabbed. We found him. Skulduggery and me? Skulduggery and I?
Skulduggery and I.
We found him. We walked down the corridor, and then a few minutes later, we came back, and he was... Clive was...
Where is Gideon?
Mr. Gideon went to his room a few minutes ago. I reminded him of your instructions to stay, but he objected.
And Terry and Elaine?
They're with Asher. I'll check on them.
This is awful. This is dreadful. 2 murders in... Oh, my. This will ruin me.
It's bad for your hotel, Mr. Aylesworth, but I'd say it's a lot worse for Mr. Vogel and Clive.
What's worse for Clive? Quitting? Yes, well, I tried to talk to him, but apparently I'm the problem, so maybe one of you will have better luck.
Romeo, you were told to stay in the reception area.
Listen to me, Detective Pleasant. Now that my inglorious past is out in the open, I no longer have to watch what I say. I have made a lot of money, and I am a very powerful entertainer, and I have had it up to here with your intimidating stature and...
Clive is dead.
I'm sorry, what?
He was murdered a few minutes ago.
Who was?
Clive's dead, Romeo. Somebody killed him.
As in, somebody insulted him so badly that he may never recover. I'm sorry, I really don't take your meaning.
He was stabbed with a knife. He bled out. His heart stopped beating and his brain ceased to function. He is no more. I've moved his body to one of the other rooms.
Not another ruined bedspread.
He's dead? Clive's dead? But that makes no sense that last time I saw him, he was alive. How can he be dead now if he was alive the last time I saw him? You can't be both. You have to pick one or the other.
I'm afraid someone chose for him.
That is unfortunate. Let's see. Okay, just give me a moment. This is a lot to process. A lot has happened. Okay, I think I know how to... Clive Ferrier was a very good assistant. Tonight's fiasco notwithstanding, he tended to book very good hotel rooms and always got me my favourite tables at my favourite restaurants. Granted, that had more to do with my celebrity than any skill or talent or indeed aptitude on his part, but I value basic competency when it comes to this job. As a person, Clive was fine. His manner was, again, tonight notwithstanding, unobjectionable, and his hygiene was excellent. There was an unfortunate period of about 8 weeks when he had a moustache, but I finally convinced him to shave it off. If I knew of a particular poem he liked, I would recite it. And if I knew of a song that would encapsulate who he was as a person, I would, if not sing it, then ask that you hum it, quietly to yourself, whenever you think of him. He will be missed.
Well, that was weird.
Asher is still unconscious. Elaine and Terry never left his side. Lucy was with me when Clive was killed.
And Kate was with me.
I'm sorry, what are we talking about? Are we talking about alibis?
There's someone else. An intruder. One of the side doors, the glass doors leading in from the garden, was open. There were footprints.
Someone else to add to our suspect list.
Wait, I'm not on this list, am I?
You're the only one here with any motive.
What possible motive could I have for killing Clive?
You were angry at him for quitting.
Is that a motive, is it? What about the staff? They said they were watching over the unconscious man, but how do we know they weren't really killing Clive instead? And what about you, Mr. Hotel Owner? Where were you?
I was here.
Do you have anyone to corroborate that?
Well, I mean, no, because you left.
Then I put it to you that the hotel owner killed Clive for some reason. Case closed.
Case not even remotely closed, Romeo.
If you're innocent, then why don't you use your psychic powers to find out which one of us is the killer?
Reading somebody's mind without their permission is not how we do things as sensitives. It's a gross invasion of privacy that is just...
Don't you read people's minds for your act?
I do, yes, but...
They don't give you permission, do they?
I only skim the surface thoughts of my audience members. It's practically not even mind reading.
How long did you work for the English Sanctuary, Romeo?
8 years.
What did you do for them exactly?
Various things.
You read minds for them?
Yes.
But your report describes you as a mediocre sensitive. Did you fool them for 8 years into thinking that you were better at your job than you were? How did you do that? How does a mind reader hide the fact that he's not very good at reading minds? Did you lie, Gideon?
You can't just accuse me of something like that without... I took great pride in my...
Sensitives are used when people get arrested. For the rest of you, mages don't really get trials. Occasionally, yes, they do, and we have our own lawyers and judges and all that stuff, but usually we just get a sensitive to find out if a bad guy's a bad guy, and if they are, we throw them in prison. Easy peasy. Skulduggery, have you heard of a sorcerer called Atrophy Nix?
A notorious serial killer who has been murdering people since 1867, we believe. 6 years ago, their kill rate went up drastically. For the next 4 years, they were killing an estimated 3 people a month. In the early days, some of the victims demonstrated an apparent willingness to be murdered. They had opportunities to escape, and yet they remained in place. On one occasion, an attack was interrupted by a knock on the door, and the victim answered, bleeding quite profusely, and assured their neighbour that nothing untoward was going on, that they were merely spending time with their close friend, Atrophy Nix. The victim shut the door and calmly returned to being murdered.
Why would they do that?
Investigators initially believed that Nix was using the victims' given names to command them to allow themselves to be killed. But maintaining control during such extreme ordeals simply by using a given name is unlikely. Plus, some of the victims were mages. They eventually came to the conclusion that Nix uses a reverence article.
Which is?
A reverence article is an object. It can be anything, really, imbued with what is called the 7 layers of obedience.
The what?
It's from an old cult that worshipped some obscure god, none of which matters right now. If I had a reverence article that you had touched last, you would obey every command I gave.
Doubt it.
You would be compelled to.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm afraid you wouldn't have much choice. It forms a...
I just wouldn't do what you said.
The 7 layers of obedience are quite unbreakable. There's no...
I get that, I do, but I reckon it wouldn't work on me.
Because you're...
Because I hate being told what to do.
I don't think anyone likes being told what to do. But this kind of magic is something that willpower alone would not be able to...
All I'm saying is, I don't think it'd work on me. Please continue.
Right. Thank you.
So, for the rest of us, ordinary people, you're talking what? Instant, unquestioning obedience.
It might not be unquestioning, but it would be irresistible. It means you can't act against the possessor of the article. You can't steal it from them. You can't harm them or allow them to be harmed. And you must stay within a certain radius of them at all times.
So, Atrophy Nix used this thing to get people to want to die.
Nix's victims would not have wanted to raise the alarm, because to raise the alarm would be to act against the person killing them. The reverence article would stop them screaming, running, fighting back. It would leave them defenseless, helpless, and hopeless, powerless to do anything but watch as he killed them.
Which explains why he was able to kill so cleanly when he was starting out. So why did he change it up? Why did he start to get messier? Did he just like the thrill of almost being caught? Did he need more of a challenge?
Perhaps. Why are you asking about Nix?
Is that the intruder? Is that who broke in?
First of all, the intruder didn't break in. The door was unlocked. Second of all, ignore that question and answer mine.
Lucy and Kate know more than they've let on.
Lucy?
A sorcerer named Umpton Fret was suspected of being Atrophy Nix. They had a pretty flimsy case against him, mostly circumstantial evidence, but it wasn't nothing. The thing was, the Sanctuary sorcerers were desperate. They needed to believe that Fret was guilty. They arrested him, brought him in, and got one of their sensitives to read his mind. They got you, Gideon. And what did you tell them?
How do you know this? I thought you were a journalist.
I'm not a journalist, I'm a music teacher.
But your magazine...
Doesn't exist. We made it up.
But then what is the interview for?
There is no interview. The magazine doesn't exist. It was all a lie. Now answer my question. What did you tell the Sanctuary sorcerers?
I can't be expected to remember every single case I was...
You'd remember that one, though. You'd remember being involved in the Nix investigation.
You told them Umpton Fret was the killer, and they threw him in prison. Everyone celebrated, even Nix himself. See, Nix hadn't killed anyone since Fret had been arrested. But the day you said that Fret was the bad guy, Nix celebrated by going out, finding a pretty young sorcerer named Guinevere Propitious, and murdering her. She was my wife.
I didn't know that he wasn't. I didn't know Fret wasn't.
Guinevere's body wasn't found until a week later. By which stage, Nix had killed 2 more. 1 sorcerer and 1 mortal. By the time anyone connected all these murders, Fret was already dead in prison. Apparently he was bunking with a prisoner who'd also lost someone to Nix's knife. I didn't know magic existed until I met Guinevere. She made me happy in ways I can't describe. And she told me all about your cool, hidden world. She was a good person. She was kind and smart and sweet, and she loved me.
So, why did you go to all this trouble to get me here? Oh my God. You're going to kill me, aren't you?
When Guinevere disappeared, I went looking for her. I tracked her phone to a tiny, ramshackle house in the middle of the city. I found the phone, found her bag, found the charm bracelet I'd given her. This charm bracelet. That's become something of a good luck charm to me ever since. But I didn't find her. Couldn't find her. There was nothing else in that house, and there was no owner listed. I took the sorcerers there, the ones investigating, but they couldn't find anything useful, and when her body was recovered, they stopped contacting me. The investigators, the sorcerers Guinevere had introduced me to, they all vanished. Yours was the only name I had. And by that stage, you had left the sanctuary to make it as a stage magician. I went to one of your shows. I sat right up front, and I tried speaking to you when it was over. But you were gone.
I don't do the stage door thing.
I went to great lengths to get you here tonight. But not so I could kill you. Just so I could ask you. Why did you do it?
Why did I do what?
Why did you lie? Why did you tell them Fret had killed all those people? Why did you protect Nix?
Protect him? No, that's not what I was doing.
You framed an innocent man to let a serial killer wriggle free of whatever net was closing in around him. Do you know who he is? Do you know who Nix is?
No.
Tell me who killed my wife.
I don't know. I was a dreadful psychic, but I couldn't admit it to anyone. So when they asked me if Umpton Fret was the guy they were looking for, I guessed.
You guessed?
The detectives were so sure it had to be Fret that I just went along with it, and I said, yep, this guy's the killer, and they threw him in prison. I didn't know he wasn't, you see. I didn't know he wasn't the killer.
May I... sorry to interrupt, but since you're now looking for a serial killer, could those of us who aren't serial killers leave the premises?
These are your premises, though, Mr. Aylesworth.
Yes, but I would prefer not to die on them.
Why do you think we should be looking for a serial killer?
Do you not suspect this Nix person of being responsible for the murders of Clive and Mr. Vogel?
I don't know why Nix would suddenly turn up at this hotel on this night. Do you?
No. I simply assumed, wrongly. So, once again, any one of us could be the killer, yes?
Anyone except you, yes.
Except me? I'm not a suspect?
How come he isn't a suspect?
No, Mr. Aylesworth, you're not a suspect. Atrophy Nix has been active from 1867 until now. There have been, on average, 2 victims every month since then. You couldn't possibly be Nix.
And why couldn't he?
Because until 3 years ago, he was in prison. Weren't you, Mr. Grody?
I'll kill all of... Oh!
I doubt that very much.
What's happening? What happened? Why are you all crowded round me?
Mr. Grody, I'm just shackling you to a pipe in one of your charming ground-floor rooms. Are the cuffs too tight on your wrists? Are they cutting off the circulation? Good.
This is ridiculous. This is preposterous. I am not a serial killer. Why would you even think that?
You shouted that you were going to kill us all before Skulduggery punched you out.
I'd forgotten that. Well, fine. Yes, I'm a serial killer. But I didn't kill anyone tonight.
Do you promise?
You have my word.
Is the word of a serial killer a vow you can depend on?
When it comes to this, yes. Now, if you release me, I will leave and never come back. Again, you have my word.
That's so tempting. It's such a good deal. Would you kill anyone?
On my way out.
On your way out, ever again, that kind of thing.
I don't like that he has to think about this.
Shut up, Romeo. We're not done shouting at you yet.
Okay, I've thought about it. No, I will not kill anyone ever again.
Ah, Skulduggery, you hear that?
We're not letting him go, Valkyrie.
But look at his little face.
Mr. Grody, you're going back to prison, where you will serve the remainder of the multiple life sentences you received for the murders of 18 people.
That you can prove.
That we can prove, yes.
How long is a life sentence for a sorcerer?
Well, Lucy, generally it's 88 years. Because Mr. Grody received a life sentence for each one of those 18 murders, he was technically sent to prison for 1,584 years.
But I've already been in prison for a while. So how long do I have left of
Because you broke out, I would expect your sentence to be reset to the beginning. So, another 1,584 years.
And is my good behaviour taken into account?
You broke out.
So... no. I see.
Do people really stay in prison for, thousands of years?
It's rare. Any centuries-long sentence is usually commuted to 100 or 200 years. But there are sorcerers who are just too dangerous to ever allow to walk free.
Execution would be kinder.
It's generally believed in polite magical society that there's enough death in the world already without our institutions adding to the total. Mr. Grody.
Call me Nebula.
No. Mr. Grody, those 18 people you murdered in 1929.
Why did I do it?
Why did you do it here? You bought this hotel, turned the basement into a torture chamber, and went about your grisly business.
Grisly business. I like that.
But you've never given a reason why you focused your attention in one place. Before 1929, you roamed the world, killing whenever the urge overtook you, keeping so many steps ahead of the authorities that they had no idea they were looking for the same man. But then you bought the Hollow Hotel, killed 18 people.
That you can prove?
That we can prove. And invited suspicion, scrutiny, and eventually arrest. It wasn't even sorcerers who caught you. It was the mortal police.
You want answers? Detective Pleasant? Send in your sensitives. They will crash against the walls of my mind, and my secrets will forever...
You chose this hotel for a reason.
Everything I do is
You
for...
killed 18 people and trapped their spirits in the soul catchers that line the shelves of the foyer. Interesting thing about those soul catchers. They have blemishes that have discoloured and warped their undersides.
Normal wear and tear that comes from displaying them in public view.
Maybe. I've read the reports about this place, about Emilia. She never liked the male guests, but she was never hostile towards them either. She kept to herself and was rarely seen. In fact, the first accounts of any hostility on her part occurred from 1930 onwards, after you had been arrested.
And?
You drove her to madness.
You can't drive a ghost to madness.
Oh, but you can. And you did. Killing those people, trapping them, and then agitating the spirits, as evidenced by the signs of power discharge on the soul catchers. You tortured them. Living people would not have been aware of their cries, but Emilia would have heard every sound they made. You drove her from her solitude, and she appeared before you, didn't she? At which point, you trapped her in a binding circle in the basement. Why did you trap her, Mr. Grody? What did you need from her?
She had my son. My mortal son. His spirit was bound to hers, and she wouldn't release it.
Your son was Jonathan Hopkins.
That insipid peasant? No! My son was Edward Burgess. Also insipid, and a great disappointment to me, who was about as magical as a clump of hair in a bath, but he was still my son.
And you loved him.
Hated him. Couldn't stand him. But when he died, and he became trapped in the same ridiculous house he'd built to trap Emilia, I could hear his pathetic cries for help. Wherever I was in the world, I could hear his anguish, his pain, his gurgling sobs.
So you trapped Emilia and tortured her, demanding that she release your son's spirit. You hurt her so much that she's terrified of you even now, isn't she?
Sometimes I like to go for a wander, just so she'll have to flee to the opposite end of the hotel.
But you were so focused on your sadistic games that you failed to notice the police snooping around until the morning they raided the hotel and found you in the basement, surrounded by the remains of the people you'd killed.
They were heavy-handed. Those mortals did like to swing their truncheons. Oh, yes, they did. They cracked my head open. But I healed while I awaited my trial, and when I felt ready, I simply walked out of there.
Into the arms of the sanctuary agents waiting outside.
Well, yes. But even in Iron Point Jail, with their sigils and protections and wards, I could still hear Burgess whining.
So when you escaped, you bought the hotel and went back to work.
All I want is a little peace and quiet, and I will kill whoever I have to in order to get it.
But you didn't kill Vogel? Or Clive?
Exactly. I am a serial killer, but I'm not the serial killer you're currently looking for. So now, will you let me go?
Dear God, no.
We're going to close and lock this door, Mr. Grody. When this is over, you'll be returned to prison. Maybe a higher security institution. Cold Heart, perhaps.
But that isn't fair. I'm not the reason you came here. Isn't there a rule that you can't arrest someone for a crime you're not currently investigating? I didn't just make that up, did I?
I think you might have.
Really? Damn it.
Is this rain ever going to let up?
It can get oppressive, can't it? There's a certain darkness to this part of the world, a dread sort of...
Oh my God! Do you think we can just have a conversation? Chat about the weather? Your incompetence got my best friend's wife killed.
How many times do I have to apologize? 3 times? More?
I'd say more.
Kate.
Romeo.
Have I made mistakes? Yes. Have I allowed my ego to run roughshod over my good sense? Yes.
Have I got innocent people killed, and did I put an innocent man in prison where he was then murdered in his cell? Yep.
You remind me of someone, you know.
Oh, joy.
My very first assistant. There was a spark between us.
Wow.
And that spark led to a kinship.
Doubt that very much.
Kate, I need an ally. I need someone who sees me for me. A flawed man, yes, but a good man at heart. A man capable of change.
Are you? Either of those things?
Sure. I mean, how hard could it be?
What's this about Mr. Aylesworth being a serial killer? Are you all being serious right now?
Elaine, there is no need to panic.
Sorry. I got out of the bathroom and she was there and I was like, can you believe it? Because I assumed someone else had told her about Grody and I was halfway through telling her, but I was back there with Terry, keeping watch over Asher, protecting him from the murderer, and you'd already caught him. Where is he? Which room is he in?
Mr. Aylesworth, Nebular Grody, is a serial killer, yes. But he might not be the serial killer.
There are 2 serial killers in this hotel. In this hotel tonight. What are the chances of 2 serial killers congregating in the same place at the same time?
It happens more often than you'd think. Elaine, we are sorry we didn't notify you sooner. As a participant/suspect, you absolutely deserve to be kept abreast of what is going on. But if you could return to your post, helping Terry watch over Asher, we will send for you both when...
We're still suspects.
Oh, yes.
But Mr. Aylesworth...
Mr. Grody.
How do you know he didn't kill the German bloke and the other guy?
Clive. The other guy's name was Clive Ferrier. Valkyrie, could I have a word?
Where's Valkyrie going?
To check on something for me. Elaine, to answer your question, we don't know that Grody didn't kill Mr. Vogel. This is very true. But we know for certain that he didn't kill Mr. Ferrier.
How do we know that?
Let's run through where everyone was when Clive was killed. I was with Kate, and we were walking in circles.
I was with Valkyrie, and I was telling her, you know, the truth about me. And I was with Terry, and we were both with Asher. Who was unconscious? Beg pardon. I'm just saying that Asher was, and still is, unconscious. And we only have your word that you were with him when Clive was killed. Well, where was Romeo Gideon?
I was using the facilities in my room.
Why didn't you use the bathrooms on this floor?
Because I don't like using what amounts to public toilets where anyone can come in. I have shy bowels.
So you were in your room alone?
Yes, I was sitting on the toilet alone.
Which means you don't have an alibi.
All right, Miss Marple, settle down. Just because I didn't have anyone with me while I was sitting on the toilet doesn't mean I killed Clive. What about the intruder, eh? The mysterious person who came in through the side door. They should be our prime suspect.
But you're the only one with a motive.
That's not true at all. The killer had motive. He or she or they must have had motive because they killed him, didn't they? And where was Aylesworth?
Grody.
Where was the serial killer when my assistant was murdered, eh?
Around that time, I imagine he was destroying the evidence linking him to the constable's murder.
I'm sorry?
The constable, Arthur Dudley. He's the intruder, by the way.
Constable Dudley's dead.
I would expect so. When he left us earlier this evening, he got in his car and tried to depart. The flooded roads would have prevented this, which led to him changing his mind about leaving. Sometimes it happens. You can use someone's name to give them an order, and so long as they don't think about it too much, they'll obey. But it looks like Dudley came back and let himself in through the side door.
But how do you know he's dead?
Grody has built up quite a grudge against mortal police officers and views them as immediate threats. After Amelia first appeared to us and our group scattered, Grody came across Dudley, or Dudley may even have approached Grody. Grody led him to room 4, where he killed him, either by bludgeoning or stabbing, some method where blood spattered Grody's jacket. A jacket he then had to get wet in the rain in order to find an excuse to replace. He next began cleaning the blood off his shoes. By my calculations, he was still cleaning them as Clive was being murdered. Hiding one body was hard enough. I doubt he'd have had time to hide two. Which leaves Terry, Elaine, and Gideon as our suspects.
Yep. Dudley's dead and stashed in room 4.
How did you know he was in room 4?
The key is missing from the cubbyhole.
You are a clever man.
Clever?
Brilliant.
Better.
He's gone.
Who's gone?
Who's talking?
Mr. DeVoe, Asher, he's gone.
Everyone stay here.
What's happening?
You were supposed to be watching him.
I was watching him. Elaine came to check on everything here, and I stepped out of the room to stretch my legs and...
You tried to leave, didn't you?
Of course I did. One of you is a killer, and I should be allowed to leave if I want to. You're not the police, and you have no right to...
Terry!
Sorry.
You came back, though.
I got to the side door, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't abandon... Anyway, when I got back to the room, he was gone.
No sign of a struggle, and the sheets, though crumpled, don't look like Asher was dragged off the bed.
He woke up. He left on his own. He must have. He's the killer!
Romeo, I reckon it's about time we had a chat. Lucy, you deserve to come too. Kate, Elaine, Terry. We'll be in the manager's office, so if any one of you tries to kill the others, we'll hear.
Now then, Mr. Gideon.
Yes, I'm here. I'm ready to help in whatever fashion I can. I will answer truthfully and honestly and...
You seem nervous.
I'm not. It's funny you should say that, because I'm not nervous. I'm innocent, so I have nothing to be nervous about. This is just an ordinary conversation to me. Just another ordinary, everyday chat between me and my...
Interrogators. Yes. Let's begin, shall we? Time, after all, is running out.
The end draws near in the penultimate episode when mysteries are solved and the guilty get their comeuppance.